Very, very interesting movie. First of all, I love the title. It's it's a very loaded title. So, kind of what I was getting from it was, these kind of seem to be wealthy to do people having a conflict here, and perhaps they're having a conflict within their own domain. I guess that's what they must be talking about. But anyway, it was very interesting to see the performers, how they pair off, and how there's the shifting power dynamics, and then the butler or the server comes in and seems to kind of have the upper hand at the end of all this. So I guess the underclass prevails, which is a good thing. But yeah, it was really well executed and very beautifully done. The performers were astounding. They were beautiful dancers. They were all amazing. They did a great job. The choreography was really good. I loved how it was very clear from the movements and just the story they were telling in the movements, about the conflict, about the, like I said, the shifting power dynamics. And I love the music as well. It's well directed, well edited too. I love the pacing of it. And there were neat effects with the slow motion and going in reverse, and then we're going down into the dessert plate at a certain point. Yeah, a lot of interesting things going on here. So very cool. I hope this gets seen because it's a nice job by everybody. So congrats.
I felt that tension was built very well during the first couple minutes of the piece through the escalation and the intensity of the movement. I also think that the space between one side of the table and the other was very clearly maintained during that time to establish the two factions of the conflict, and then also very clearly broken soon after. I think that I was initially not sure how to perceive the other character that came into the scene and his role, the waiter, but it seemed to me as the piece went along and as we transitioned into this other location, that he was a sort of arbitrator and peacemaker, and it almost seemed to me like they became absorbed into him and were able to all become one in this other place. And I thought that it was particularly beautiful how everyone was visible through one silhouette, which brings me to the point that I think this film, as a dance film, did a really wonderful job also utilizing visual film techniques to portray its message.
This was really fascinating. Great music. The music, the only word I could think of for it was anticipatory. Like I was anticipating, like just from the very beginning, there was just something that I was like, this is gonna like make me sit on the edge of my seat, which, as you can see, I am sitting on the edge of my seat. I just watched it. The choreography was very interesting. Love the modern, contemporary choreography. Very expressive, really beautiful. I love the costumes. I love the location. I thought that was very interesting. Don't know where that field is or where they are, but the white table with the white chairs and was all very interesting. I loved the anger that was bubbling inside, and then the overturning of the table, and then that last section with the tray with the piece of food on it, and then ending up in the only way I can describe it is the waiters, the servers self-conscious is all I could think of. But then everyone joins him in that self-conscious, so I'm not quite sure how to describe that, but it was fascinating and beautiful how when he was walking you could see the back of his head, and then all the dancers were kind of like in his head. It was really cool, that effect. Anyway, really love this. Congratulations, it's awesome.
I really like the setting for Crying on the Island. The outdoor space, the table, the outfits, the costumes, and then the music along with the choreography and the dancers' expressions, I think, captured the mood really well. I love that special effects using kind of like the white blank space and then almost like a projector style. I thought that was really cool and it felt theme, and overall really interesting.
It was a really interesting piece in the sense that it took place in two completely different areas and kind of told two different stories at the same time. And what I really liked about the first area was just the open field of it, but yet they had the just the formal wear, and it was just so beautiful kind of seeing the whole layout of that. And the camera work for that was really cool too, just kind of the overhead shots of the table where everyone was seated, and it was like everyone kind of had their part to play. And then it kind of just goes into this turn into this open white space, and the characters just change and evolve into something different. And it was as if it just told a story on its own, and it was just really interesting to kind of see how it all came together, how the choreography would change depending on the space, and yeah, I just really like the fact that they were able to create two very different stories with the same cast and everything. So, really great job.
I thought this was a really well done piece. The choreography is great. The way a lot of the movement syncs up with the audio, really, really smartly done. Just makes good use of the space that they're in, and interesting transition with the little speck on the plate becoming our final performer like that. I thought was really smart. So yeah, there's just a lot of great elements that came together and made this an overall really interesting piece to check out.
Really hypnotizing piece. I thought that the choreography was absolutely amazing. I love that they incorporated the table and the place settings right into the dance. We had some really nice moments here, like when she took off her earrings or when they threw everything off the table and they flipped it. And there was some really amazing cinematography here as well. I enjoyed those aerial shots that we got and the double exposure frames towards the end. And I just love the look of the whole thing. The tablescape was beautiful. Their costumes were amazing. Everything was so vivid and fit really well with the dancing. And that dancing was beautiful as well. All the dancers are so talented, and I just really enjoyed watching
A
them.
really creative film. I thoroughly enjoyed the way they made fun of elites, especially at their rich dinner parties. And it was the small details that really made this so enjoyable, like how they were all seated far away from each other to signify their resentment for one another, or the fact that it was set in a farm in the middle of nowhere to show their complete detachment from reality. And plus, the editing in this was ace, especially on that sequence when the butler serves the food, only to zoom in on that and show the dancers wearing brown while against a white void. And I'll always have a greater appreciation for dance pieces like this that have a good story to tell.
It was really interesting. It was kind of the statement of it all, from what I gathered, is just kind of seemingly having it all, but still putting yourself in a situation to like garner unhappiness or like warrant distress or dissatisfaction in some way. Just this sense of privilege. And I think it was really interesting. I think the dancers had a great sense of musicality and in movement, just flowing throughout the piece. I also think there were some great choices by the director of photography. A lot of these different transitions, especially that moment where you go into the dessert plate. I think that was really interesting. But overall, just a really good piece, and I enjoyed it quite